1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We are back with episode 43, and we got a great show lined up for you. It's going to be awesome. My name is Aaron Harris. I am one half of your hosting team, and joining me is my co-host. He is the 3PO to my R2, the David Motters. David, what's up, man?
Hey, I noticed those are starting to come a little more easier. The ones with the with the height differentials and stuff. I love it, buddy. I really enjoy it when you come up with those fun little examples. And I am ready to react as always. Looking forward to record with you, and we're just so excited about last week and recording with Jason Fry, and enjoyed being able to do that with you. And Jason was just incredible and so nice. And yeah, I just want to keep it going with Bad Batch. This has been a great start, and I'm looking forward to talking about this episode. All right, so I'm ready to go.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. I had knocked my mic and it said it unplugged. I want to make sure it was still working. Oh. Awesome.
Yep.
Carabast.
Moment.
There we go. So, excellent. Yeah, it was a great show last week. I had a lot of fun with Jason Fry. Thank you for putting the work into that and getting him on there. And thank you, Jason, if you're listening, for joining us. That was a great show. Thank you so much. So it was a lot of fun. So everything good on your end of the world, David?
So far, so good. Yeah. We're here, and my two kids are finishing up school this week and next, and then they're done. Basketball and ballet during the school year, so just kind of a different kind of vibe. But yeah, how about on your end?
Oh, everything on my end is good. I had a great weekend. Went to a conference in Orlando with some friends, and then got myself in trouble at a comic store. So, all good.
That sounds about like par for the course for you.
Yeah, it is. But it was well worth it. You've seen the X-Wing miniatures game, right?
Yes.
Have you seen the Ghost?
Oh my gosh, no, I haven't. You got to send me a picture.
I will send you a picture, and I'll have to post it too. I knew it was out there, and I had seen it in pictures, and every time I find it online, it was like double or triple the price, or it was sold out. So I just never really pulled the trigger on it. And the store we were at actually had it, and it was the new repackaged one that came with the Phantom 2.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
So I came home with the Ghost.
Nice, buddy. Well, I know when it comes to Rebels that that's your jam, and I'll tell you, the longer time goes, the more I look at Rebels, and it's everything about it is just Star Wars gold. It's incredible. So yes, I know for you with Chopper and gosh, the whole crew, and of course, the tie-in last week with Caleb Doom, Kanan Jarrus, just great stuff to see. But that's awesome, man, that you got that.
Yeah, I was really excited when I got it, because I kept telling myself when we went, I'm like, nope, I'm going to be good. Then I walked around the corner, and there it was, and I went, oh man. I'm not going to be good. I am not going to be good. I gave into the dark side, and boy, were there cookies.
Oh my gosh.
So it was wonderful. So, all right. Well, let's get this show on the road, man. We got a lot happening here. We got some news for you. Not a lot. There's been a lot of news going around. A lot of new items being released for sale and all that. Just really too much to get to in the show. A lot of things on Hasbro. You can pre-order on Hasbro and on Amazon, new Black Series and stuff like that. But a couple things I did want to touch on that we didn't get to in our last episode that was mentioned that was happening during Star Wars Day, May 4th. Along with the release of Bad Batch on May 4th, Disney Plus actually released a couple of additional shorts that are Star Wars related, which are quite unique. And a lot of people have just kind of glanced over these and haven't even really noticed them. But they're actually pretty good. The first one is called Star Wars Biomes. It is basically it's basically just 18 minutes of just flying over different landscapes and different planets through the saga, and it's visually stunning. It's a great way just to kick back, kill 20 minutes if you have to. So definitely you want to check that out. The next one, of course, is Star Wars vehicle fly-throughs. Now, this one I have not had the opportunity to watch, even though the episodes are like really short. They're only about 2 to 4 minutes each, and they've only released 2 episodes. The vehicle fly-throughs is exactly what it sounds like. You're basically getting a fly through of the vehicle. And episode 1 focuses in on everybody's favorite hunk of junk, the Millennium Falcon. And the second one actually surprised me just because of what it was. It was a Star Destroyer. But it wasn't just, I would have figured it would have been an Imperial Star Destroyer, since we're talking Bad Batch and stuff like that outright at this moment. But no, they actually did the First Order Star Destroyer. So I thought that was kind of interesting because, there are some design differences there. So those were the 2 episodes are now. Like I said, one's 2 minutes, one's 4 minutes, and are very, very interesting. Have you gotten to watch any of those yet, David?
Yeah, I did the 18 minutes of the Star Wars Biomes, and that was really neat, very relaxing. I was watching, in the Biomes when they fly over Sargon, you see the oh my gosh, why am I blocking on the Mandalorian ship? The
Razor Crest.
Razor Crest. And that flies by, and I'm like, and then it lands, and I'm like, oh, it's just so calm and relaxing. Oh, that's right, it's supposed to be calm and relaxing. But I liked going over Hoth, and that. It was even cool to go over Mustafar and going past Vader's castle, and so it's pretty cool. I did the 2 fly-throughs. I liked the Falcon, not really the First Order Star Destroyer a whole lot, and just overall, just really enjoyed the Biomes more than the vehicle fly-throughs. We'll see what they add there and so on and so forth. But enjoyed. Well, I'm going to watch them. It's Star Wars content, but I have put on Star Wars Biomes. I actually wish it was like, and you've probably seen this, Aaron, on Disney Plus, where they've got different viewscapes. Like they have one of the sun coming up over Cinderella's castle at the Magic Kingdom, right? And they've got one coming up, I think, over the ball at Epcot, and then I think maybe the Tree of Life. I'd have to look again. But those things, you could turn them on, and they last at least an hour. And you just have them on your thing. Like I did the thing for Frozen during Christmas, right? The castle,
the fireplace,
right? Yeah. And that goes really long. And so I wish this was longer. So I'm hoping they do that, because I'd like it to just click it on and just, even if it looped through those 18 minutes. But I would love if they added more, like flying, around Dagobah or over that, and just a lot of different places, Cloud City. There's a lot they could add, and I'd love to see them bump it up to an hour or 2 hours, and I would just click that on and let it play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. That would be awesome. Be nice just to have on in the background. nice relax. And yeah, I would dig that.
Yeah.
I definitely would dig that. There is one more short that was released, Star Wars related, but not a Star Wars show. And this one actually caught a lot of people by surprise because there wasn't even a hint this was happening. But there was a 3-minute short released of The Simpsons. Of course, The Simpsons has been on TV for 20 plus years now. And this was a 3-minute short called Maggie Simpson in The Force Awakens from Its Nap.
Yeah.
And basically, Maggie goes on a quest for her lost pacifier. This one I haven't been able to bring myself to watch yet.
It's cute. It's cute.
I'm sure it is. Because Maggie is the cutest thing from The Simpsons. And she's very possessive of that pacifier. I know that. So I'm sure if it's lost, she's going to go on a quest to find it. And I think even one of the clips I saw had her molding her, stretching her pacifier out into like a sword to fight a Maggie-sized Darth Maul, it looked like.
Right.
So definitely interesting, probably good for a few laughs. So I promise you by next week I will have watched it and I will give you my official thumbs up or thumbs down.
Okay.
Because we're not going to spend a whole episode reviewing a 3-minute Simpson short. So, but yeah, those are all available right now on Disney Plus. So you want to make sure you log in and watch those now while you can. Enjoy those and let us know what you think as well. So, of course, as you know, going into our next piece of news, I told you in our last episode that we were struggling with our Facebook page, that it had pretty much had gotten taken down, and we were fighting to get it back. And I even think they referred to it as Facebook held hostage at one point. And it still is. But we are not going to hang around and wait for them. So as of Sunday, this past Sunday, we're recording this Tuesday night. What is the date today? Today is May 10th.
No,
the 11th. Geez, I lost today.
I'm here. You know that, brother. I'm always going to help.
Yeah, I write the date on everything at work. You think I would know what today is. So, yeah, we're recording this Tuesday, May 11th. So Sunday, this past Sunday, May 9th, our new Facebook page went online. That's right, folks. We have a brand new Star Wars Reaction Facebook page that we need you to go and find, click and follow, and join us back because we are having to rebuild our Facebook presence from scratch. All of our followers are gone. Everything is starting fresh and anew. So if you just go to facebook.com/SWReactions, you will find us. It will now appear when you pull it up, it will pull up as Star Wars Reaction Podcast, is how it's listed now. And you'll be able to click follow and get all the news and stuff right there as well, and be a part of our Facebook community as well. So we would definitely appreciate any help that you can give us getting the word out that we are back on Facebook and what our new address is. So the link has been updated on our website, so you can find it there. It'll be updated in our show notes. You can find it there. And, of course, we'll be sharing it throughout, of course, the week on Twitter and, of course, Instagram, trying to get stuff connected again and try to get that presence boosted up. So we're back. Yay.
Well, thank you for doing that, buddy. And it sounds like from the research you said, I just thought the listeners should know it doesn't appear that we did do anything wrong. So it looks like it was just kind of a computer weird wiggy whatever. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Cyber internet world craziness.
Yeah, it looks like we just fell into a black hole somehow.
Right.
Um, and it's not, they initially told us they pulled it down because of a violation, but then when the violation page is telling us that we committed no violations and thanked us for keeping Facebook safe. So I'm stumped. So, and since there's really no way to get a hold of people at Facebook and find out what's going on, and instead of just, waiting indefinitely for them to take action and fix it, we just went ahead and took action ourselves and created the new page. So we appreciate any support you can give us on getting our follower base built back up there. Like I said, we'll be sharing stuff through there as well. Just trying to boost our people back, trying to reconnect with some of the people we lost. So if you're a listener and you were following us on Facebook, now you know why you haven't been seeing us. Make sure you go over to the new page and click like. And if you've not followed us on Facebook yet, head over to the new page, click that like button, and give us that follow. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. So with that wraps up all of our news for today that we're going to be touching on. So let's go ahead and jump into our topic for episode 43, which is the Bad Batch episode 2, entitled Cut and Run. Cut and Run was released Friday, May 7th, 2021, directed by Stuart Lee and written by Gursimran. Dude, I am sorry, but I'm going to do my best. Gursimran Sandhu. So,
yeah, I'm with you. This is where, I always help you with different pronunciations, and
you're leaving me out to dry on this one, aren't you?
Well, you and I are both out to dry. Obviously directed by Stuart Lee, and we've heard his name before many times, but I think, let me try this. Gursimran Sandhu, right? Gursimran Sandhu.
What he said.
That could be wrong as well, but I'll say this. I love what he wrote for this episode.
It was a great episode, and there's a lot of fun in this episode. This episode actually continues the Bad Batch at the end of episode 1. We know they took off and where they were going to see an old friend for help, and they end up heading to Saleucami. Saleucami, that was it. Saleucami. They headed to Saleucami to touch base with an old friend. And while they were there, find out some stuff that's going on. They find out about the implants, the inhibitor chips, and then they have to help their friend escape from this now Imperial locked down planet. And they have to end up having to hack and steal some chain codes, which are being put into place. And we end up with a nice little clone fight there at the end of the episode, which was really good. We get a lot of moments between Hunter and Omega through this as their relationship is growing and exploring. All over a great episode. So let's go into our initial thoughts. David, what did you first think when you watched Cut and Run?
Oh, sure. I have to admit, I thought we would be meeting up with Rex. You and I had talked about this a little bit after the series premiere. And so I thought it was going to be a Rex, but I'll tell you what, I really liked the stop on Saleucami to touch base with Cut, Sue, his wife, and their 2 children. And I really like, and it was, and I can see why they did it, because it accomplished several important plot points and to establish the story, I think, going forward, not just now, but in seasons to come. First, it helps us to learn more about Omega and really to like her more. Now, some people might even fall in love with her, particularly with some of her experiences with first coming onto the planet and seeing sunshine, feeling dirt, and so on. That was really neat. So, how do you fall in love with a character? Well, you got to develop the character, and that's what I felt like they really did here with her. At least started that process. Second, it shows us the Republic beginning to change into the Empire. That's really cool. That is really cool, and I like seeing that. Third, it begins the long road, and I hope it's a long road and an enjoyable road, probably a tension-filled road of Hunter developing into a father, and a parent to Omega. So I really enjoyed this just as much as the series premiere.
Very good, very good. I really like this episode too. This was a different. It was a little more serious episode than the first one. A little more, not as much bang bang action as the first episode had in it. But this was a lot of fun. We got to return to Seleucumai and see Cut. I just blanked on his last name. Lesko.
Oh, Cut Lawquane?
Cut Lawquane. That's it. I'm sorry. Why did I get Lesko? Lawquane.
Yeah. Well, I think with Sue, the wife's name, Cut Sue, it kind of, yeah. It kind of gets pulled together there, though. Yeah.
So we got to meet him again. And if you don't remember Cut Lawquane, he, of course, was in the second season episode of the Clone Wars. He was a deserter from the army, and I would say he appeared. I think the name of the episode actually was The Deserter.
It was.
And so you can actually go on Disney Plus and actually watch that one and see him appear for the first time. And he actually made friends with Rex in that episode, begrudgingly.
Yeah.
But it definitely became friends together. So it was great to see him again. And I will say it did catch me off guard. Of all the clones that could have popped up, that was not who I expected.
Yeah.
We know they meet up with Rex because we saw that in the trailer. And so I kind of thought it probably might have been Rex they were meeting with. But if they were going to bump into other clones, you would think it would be other clones that, resisted that we know did not participate in 66 with Rex, like with Wolf or Gregor. I was thinking we might see one of those two. But Cut, that's a deep cut. No pun intended. To take somebody from a one shot episode and throw him in this series, it's decades later. That episode. When did that episode air? The Deserter.
Well, of season 1, of course, the Clone Wars movie premiered in August of 2008. So 08-09 was season 1.
January 1st, 2010.
There you go. 2009, 2010. Yeah.
January 1st, 2010 is, according to Wikipedia, is when that one aired. The Deserter. So 2000, to bring them back 10, 11 years later.
Yeah.
It never would have crossed my mind. And my one of my initial, and I'm still doing initial thoughts, and I'm just ranting at this point, but this brings me back to something I've said in all the years I've podcasted, and I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating, and it bears repeating a lot. There is no such thing as a filler episode in the Star Wars universe. Because you never know when that's coming into play.
Yeah.
Period. Hands down. There's no such thing. Cut LaCoin. There's one example. The Purrgil at the end of Star Wars Rebels. There's another example.
Yeah.
The episode where the rebels got the Corvettes, the Hammerhead Corvettes.
Yeah.
The Hammerhead Corvettes came back into play in Rogue One. I mean, so you never know when things are going to show up. So there is no such thing as a filler episode. And I'm going to get off my soapbox and I'll continue it later. But those are my opening thoughts for this episode. Yeah. So let's get going here. The episode starts with the Bad Batch arriving on
Seleucami.
That place. They showed up there, and they're landing. They're getting off the ship, and we see a very, very touching scene right there with Omega right off the bat, because we realize this is a clone who's a child who has never been off the water planet of Kamino. She's never been anywhere. She's not seen the sun like she's seeing now. She's not seen the plants, the dirt, or anything like she's that. She's been in the cold, clean environment of the cloners on Kamino, dealing with being a cloning agent. So very unique situation for her. And we see her come off, and we see the just look of pure awe and the pure shock and joy and the innocence. And like when she picks up the handful of dirt, and she's like, "What is this?" And they're like, "It's dirt, kid." And she's just overjoyed that she is touching dirt. It reminded me a lot of when Rey arrived on Takodana with Han. She's like, "I never knew so much green existed."
Yes.
It was that same type of innocence, and just new experience. What were your thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, it's absolutely. There's a lot of homages and callbacks and references to other parts of Star Wars in this particular episode, and we'll hit on them here as we keep talking about. Absolutely, that was very touching. That's what I was mentioning in my initial thoughts, that this is a way to help you to start to get to know this character and perhaps like her or even fall in love with this character. And her responses to dirt and to sunshine really reminded me of what we talk about in psychology, which is the attitude of gratitude. And people who have that tend to be less depressed and less anxious. And so it was really neat to see that in her. So very neat, very touching first scene.
It really was. And I enjoyed it. It was definitely something that would connect you to the character for sure, and help begin to flesh out some of her story as well. The story proceeds and goes to them traveling through the plant life and everything there on that planet which I cannot name because I can't say it correctly. Say it, David.
Seleucami.
That one.
Yes.
So they're walking through the woods on that place, and so I'm gonna try it again. Seleucami.
Nice.
Seleucami. 2 minutes from now, I won't be able to say it, but I'm saying it now. Seleucami.
Okay.
So they travel through, and of course they coming up to the farm where Cut Lucane lives, and they find the tripwire. Hunter finds the tripwire, and he's holding him back, and she's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "A booby trap." And this is where we get some good old comic relief from Hunter, or from Wrecker. And he's like, oh, yeah, they just got one little tripwire. Yeah, they ain't going to stop anybody. And he steps over it, then hits a laser tripwire. And it all of a sudden is surrounded by battle droids. And his first response, screaming and blasting, just like we expect from Wrecker. He's like, was that me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome. And this is where Cutler Kane actually comes into the episode for the first time. You see his wife come out with a rifle on him, and she's like, oh, great, more wayward clones. And all of a sudden, Cut looks up, she's like, well, hey, guys, long time no see. And, of course, this is where they begin discussing what's going on. And we find out something, and this is where we find out about the behavioral trips. And that's actually because of Omega, and about how the clones started acting weird. And they're like, yeah, well, that's probably their behavioral trips. And he's like, what? And they're like, you said the clone. They off that, of course, everything goes back to tech, where you said they were programmed, but you didn't mention anything about a chip. Well, they were programmed. How else would they be programmed? Kind of crazy. What did you feel about this scene, David, when they revealed the inhibitor chip to the Bad Batch?
Well, it's I always think about these writers, and again, we had Jason on, and how do you do that? How do you introduce this stuff that you and I already know? But it seemed like they did it, I thought, in a really not forced way, but just kind of, like you said, Omega just walks in, oh, that's your your behavioral chip, inhibitor chip, and really gets that conversation going. Something that I thought about, and I was going to bounce it off of you, Aaron, is we obviously see in the series premiere last week that Crosshair's inhibitor chip was still working to a certain degree, and the other three of them, it wasn't, correct?
Correct.
Right. But what about Cut LaQuaine? Obviously I don't think it worked in him, right? That was never answered, right? I hadn't really thought about it until just maybe today. Does he have one in there? I don't see any scar on the side of his head, right? Like we've seen with Rex and stuff. But I don't know. Just a thought.
Well, very true. Very true. He was a reg, so he has to have one. Right. But here's my theory on it. He's not with a clone unit, so he never got the transmission to execute Order 66. So that order was never triggered by that order was never given, and that never triggered the chip. So he's just as okay, whatever, what's going on. And when the clones turn on him, he's just as shocked as everybody else, because he has not been affected by that chip. Yeah.
No, I like that.
So I would say it's because he was a deserter is why his chip never activated, because he never got the order.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet inside the order transmission there was a hidden signal that activated the chip. So,
all
right. So at that point, we are going to take a quick pause and take a quick break, and we'll be right back and discuss some more Cut and Run. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We're discussing episode 2 of The Bad Batch, Cut and Run. And we are doing good here. We're just got going. Just talked about the inhibitor chips, and now we're talking about now we're going to move into basically the plan for the episode, what they're needing to do. And this basically is where, to me, the show kind of begins to resemble the A-Team a little bit, because now we're talking about helping somebody out that needs help. And in this case, Cut LaQuaine and his family need to escape the planet, which I cannot say. told you, give me 2 minutes. I will not be able to say it again. And I just was thinking it in my head, and it's not coming out right, so I'm not going to try it. But we have them trying, at this point, going to help him to escape. They offer to fly him out on their ship, and they're like, no, we can't do that. You're wanted people, and I got to take care of the family. So they go to Book Passage, and that's where we find out that the Empire's implementing chain codes for the people. And I think the StarWars.com website in the episode guide actually put it really good when they related the chain codes to like somebody's social security number. It's a number assigned to a person that they can identify. Except for this is a little more advanced digitally. So now everybody's having to get chain codes and get assigned, which then presents a new problem because Cutler Kane is he's AWOL. He's a deserter. He is a clone, and if he goes to get a chain code, they will recognize him and identify him as a clone. At which point he will be arrested, and in all civilized society, the cost for desertion and treason is what? Execution, and he doesn't want to get shot. We don't want that to happen to him. And he doesn't want it to happen either, because who knows what will happen to his family afterward. So then the mission becomes get a chain code. And we get to see them go through the process. They figure out how they're being programmed, and the clones are doing it in a control center. They also find out that all the ships on the planet are being impounded by the Empire, so they can control the travel off the planet. So Tech and Echo decided the best way to infiltrate the building, the impound center, to where they need to get to the coding station, is to have their own ship impounded. Okay.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I felt like Hunter when they told him the plan. You called him and told him where our ship was. It was not okay. Interesting plan. Kind of backfired a little bit because, at that point we have Omega hiding on the ship because of something we'll get into in a moment. So now it complicates it a little bit. And like all good plans, nothing goes exactly how it's supposed to. But they do end up where they need to be. They get the chain codes, and then Omega saves the day by getting them to where they need to be. Let's talk about Omega for a little bit, because she, like we said, she had an interesting story in this arc, and a lot of the episode is about her and her growth. We talked about earlier in the episode. We talked about her experience when she first got off the ship, seeing the sun, the sand, or the dirt, and everything. We also get to see her experiencing playing with the kids for the first time, as the kids are throwing a ball back and forth, and she's like, "What's the purpose of this?" She's never obviously played before. Then we see her get in danger as she tries to retrieve the ball that she doesn't want them to lose, when a Niku comes after it. And after her, and things go amiss, and then we just see a lot of complications in her day. What are your thoughts and feelings on Omega and her growth, and what happened to her in this episode, Dave?
Well, like I mentioned, it's this is a character piece, right, compared to the action and excitement of the first episode.
Absolutely.
Right, and so, like I mentioned, the scene with the dirt, the scene with the sunshine, fascination as a kid is all to help us, develop more of an understanding of this character and to fall in love with her. This is where, I did want to bring up, because again, we're talking about her. Remember last week, when we were talking to Jason Fry, I said, there's something that doesn't add up. and or well, no, it doesn't add up. I just have a little bit of my spidey senses up. I don't quite trust what's going on with her. And I didn't remember when we were talking last week, and here's a correction I need to make because I messed this up last week. I was mistaking Lama Su and Nala Se. So I mentioned Lama Su being the one who was hanging out with Omega. It was really Nala Se. Lama Su is the prime minister. And there is a scene where Nala Se holds that door open so that the Bad Batch, along with Omega, can fly off and away from Kamino, right? And I was trying, I couldn't quite remember that when we were talking last time. But what's the deal behind all that? Not quite sure. So in this episode, like I said, when you asked me about Omega, here comes Cut, and he's talking to Hunter as she's out there playing, and he says to Hunter, "Okay, so what's up with the girl?" And Hunter's like, she's a defective clone like us. And Cut then says, "The Kaminoans don't create without a purpose. You all have one. So what's hers?" And then ultimately Hunter says it doesn't matter. Oh, but it does. And I wrote down in our show notes here, and Aaron can see it. Is it good or bad? What I've told you, there's something going on. I don't know if it's the Kaminoans are wanting to keep an eye on the Bad Batch overall and how valuable they are to them, that she is to them, all of them. This is interesting to me, and it's a good hook. And but again, here the second episode backs up my what did I say? Kevin's got this is a little dodgy right now, a little dodgy, and so those are just some of my thoughts about her. I'm enjoying her. I like her, but I'm still, the jury's out. But again, like we said, the writers have purposely made it that way.
Oh, absolutely. They've done that on purpose to make a good show. Obviously, for me, I personally have my own theories about who she is and how it's going to play out. But we don't do spoil or speculation and stuff like that on the show. So, but I have my ideas, and I think I've talked to you about it, David, off the air, and I've talked to a couple of friends about what I'm thinking. And of course, if you're interested, you can always hit me up online, and we can discuss it off. I have no problem doing that. It's definitely a interesting story for her, and I think we got to see some just real qualities of a child in this episode, and experiencing things for the first time, but reactions as well, like when she after she was rescued from the creature, and she kind of hides in the shuttle and is kind of almost sulking and brooding in there, and she takes her little headpiece off and is looking at it, and she's just kind of got that that woe is me feeling going, which is quite sad to see for her. But we have ends up being turned around, because we end up seeing then her relationship with Hunter coming into play in this, because Hunter is now at the point where he's like, she needs a better family. She needs something better than us. She deserves something better than 5 defective clones running from the Empire. She deserves a family. She deserves to be safe, and actually plans on leaving her with Cut Lucane as they escape the planet, which I can't say, Salami. So
Salami. I love
told
it.
you I was going to get it right.
That's our new, yes. Han, Salukami, Salami.
Yeah, exactly. You say Salukami, I say salami. You say potato, I say potato. How it rolls. Now I want a sandwich. Anyway, completely lost my train of thought.
Well,
Go ahead, Dave.
I didn't. I know I was getting you off base. No, this again. I'd mentioned this, I think, in initial thoughts, that there's homages and references to all different types of Star Wars. Here, and I'm piggybacking right off where you ended there with Hunter saying, "Hey, Cut and Sue, they know how to do this. They can give you what you need, not like you said, Aaron, run around with 5 of us defective clones that are blowing everything up and trying to stay alive." But here's where I'm sitting here, and I'm not just like we said with her seeing sunlight and dirt for the first time and thinking about Rey on Takodana in The Force Awakens, seeing all that green. All of this reminds me absolutely of the beginning of Rebels, when Kanan is wanting to refuse the call to train Ezra, right? He's looking for Jedi Master Luminara Unduli and feels that she would do a better job than him. And it's the same thing here with Hunter. He is, in essence, refusing the call to parent, just like Kanan refused the call to be a mentor. Obviously, Kanan went on to accept the call and do the hero's journey, and we're going to see Hunter do the same thing here.
Very good, very good. And it definitely is going to make, and I think what we saw set up here is going to make it interesting going forward, because the plan was for her to go, and she ended up saving some of their lives at the end by coming back to the ship instead of leaving with Cut. So I think we're going to see something interesting going forward in their relationship, because now Hunter understands she wants to be with them. It's not just a matter of whether she's safe or not. I mean, she needs them as they need her. Let me phrase that. He needs her as much as she needs them. Because I think he's realized that, because he was not thrilled with her with losing her. So, all right. So, anything else from the episode that we want to discuss, my friend?
Well, I wanted to touch base on this because it's something that you and I talked about a couple episodes back when we covered the entire Alphabet Squadron trilogy,
okay,
as well as the TIE Fighter comic series. And again, just spoiler warning, if you have not finished Victory's Price, come back to us. But a note that I put in here for Aaron and I to talk about, and this episode got me thinking about it with chain codes. I guess not so much when I watched The Mandalorian, because they weren't really spelled out very much in The Mandalorian, but here they are. It reminded me of, Tech says it. He says, well, chain codes is brilliant. It can help you find anyone in the galaxy. And this really did tie into Victory's Price because of the way that story plays out. Yurka Quell, our protagonist, is trying to figure out what to do, as is Soren Keyes, the antagonist, what to do with the Emperor's database that is it's in the Verity district near the Jedi Temple, the Imperial Palace, and the Emperor's database. I started thinking about it. Yeah, here's where it comes from, these chain codes, and he has a social security number to people, and he has history on people. And that's a real driving force in Victory's Price about what to do with it. Soren Keyes wants to destroy it. Yurka Quell isn't sure what to do with it because of the effects that it'll have on all the people, in particular, that are Imperials. What will happen to them after the war. So that, again, another tie-in from this episode to Alphabet Squadron trilogy, tie into Rey and The Force Awakens, tie into Rebels. So I just wanted to bring that up and mention that again, here in Tech discuss this with with Echo, I absolutely was thinking about Victory's Price, and you and I covering it several weeks back. Obviously, Chains Codes got me thinking about The Mandalorian. Another quick little side note. I don't know if people caught it, but they're walking over to the spaceport, or to the dock, as Wrecker calls it, and he bumps his head really quickly. I don't know if people saw that. Absolutely made me think about the Stormtrooper bumps his head in Episode 4. The original Star Wars movie. So very much an homage. The transport, right, that Cut and Sue get on, absolutely the same transport kind of design that they use in Rebels. How about this? Because you and I are big Rebels fans. Everybody had to have caught Wrecker clanking 3 Stormtroopers' heads together, just like Zeb does. Absolute Zeb moment there for Wrecker. Anything else? I think that's it. There's other things like, when you and I have been to Galaxy's Edge together, the droid that keeps turning the spit there
Yep.
at Ronto Roasters. Right? He shows up, or he or she shows up, one of these droids in the background, and that droid showed up in a lot of places. The episode guide shows that, so that's kind of fun little trivia. But a lot of, like I said, homages and ties to other animated series, the movies, etc. So those are just a few other little points I wanted to get in.
Perfect. Sounds good. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out our review of Cut and Run. And of course, if you want to share your thoughts on Cut and Run, you can actually do that. You can always email us, show@Star Wars Reactions, or you can, of course, hit us up on social media, Facebook at SW Reactions, same for Instagram, SW Reactions, and of course Twitter at SW Reactions Pod. And you can, of course, comment or direct message us at any of those and let us know as well as your thoughts about the Bad Batch in general, or about the latest episode, Cut and Run. So with that, David, final thoughts. What were your final closing thoughts on this episode?
Absolutely. I mentioned a little bit earlier, I did. I enjoyed this episode just as much as the series premiere. There's no question. There's so much that I liked. In my initial thoughts, I mentioned, Omega's development, enjoyed that. Seeing the Republic changing to the Empire, the Stormtroopers are all in white. They don't have any individual colorings or markings like Rex and all the guys had. Top Fives, all them. None of that. And then, of course, the parenting themes. There's, they're really introducing that, not only in the series premiere, but in this one, and it's going to provide, a lot of material for my psychology corner. I have to mention, I just really enjoyed the tension and action as the episode progressed. I enjoyed, Wrecker pulling that boot off, whereas Echo couldn't get that doggone thing off, but that was fun. But they really built the tension. They did a great job with that. I really liked Hunter's, refusal of the call and then accepting the call. And we'll see his, hopefully play out his hero's journey. Obviously loved Wrecker's Zeb moment, because anything with Rebels, you and I are going to just really get a kick out of that. The 3 heads clanked all together. But overall, just really enjoyed it. And again, I'm ready for the next episode, from where they left off. And in terms of grade, right, you and I grade them. Final thoughts on grade. Do you want me to do the grade now? Yes?
Yeah, go ahead and grade.
Okay. I'm giving it an A. I have it slightly better than even the series premiere. Now, again, the first 10 to 15 minutes with Caleb Doom and Depa Balava are, that's A level. But this whole episode, how long it was and everything they had in it, as I've mentioned, they just packed it with great stuff. So my grade is a solid A.
Solid A.
Mm-hmm.
A as in apple. A as in Aaron. So, final thoughts for me. I enjoyed this episode. It was a great episode. I thought it was a great follow-up to the first. And it kind of set a tone for what I think the series is going to look like going forward. I don't think it's going to be all action like the first episode was, but it's going to be more like this, a little bit of action and a lot of character development going forward, which is awesome in my book. I love that. So I thought this was a great follow-up to kind of slow things down and let you know and kind of get the story moving, and kind of build on the relationships between the characters and, of course, between the Bad Batch and, of course, between Omega. And, of course, it was fun to see Kane again. That just, like I said, that completely caught me out of left field. I did not see that one coming. Overall, I would actually give this an A-, actually. Yeah, to me, the first episode was a little better, but this was still a great episode, and a lot of fun. So, A- for me there. David, you got a psychology corner for us this week, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, last week you and I talked, and we didn't tell people that, we just wanted to spend as much time with Jason and really discuss that, and it was a longer, premiere episode there. So we didn't do news and we didn't do the psychology corner. But this episode, again, plays right into, what, you and I talked about doing with the psychology corner. It's each of these episodes are giving us material. It's very rich and quite honestly makes my job really easy when it comes to discussing different aspects of psychology. I'm sure it'll get to a point where it's kind of some stuff is repeating itself, but this one was very rich in material, and I'll dive into my psychology corner. And again, just like with The Mandalorian, one of my goals with the psychology corner is to really share psychology, to really help people have a greater understanding of it. And as Aaron and I have shared with people, we've tried to cover different topics every time. I covered a whole bunch of different psychological issues and topics over the course of the season 2 of The Mandalorian, and we'll do the same thing here. Helping you guys understand more and more. But, again, a key component of my training and getting my degrees was my professors always said, make people good psychologists. And I do it all day long in my office, and we're trying to do that here. But don't tell my clients at my office that you guys are getting it for free. The listeners are. That's just our little secret. So, okay. So here's my psychology corner. So I'm sure all of us are getting a similar parenting vibe from the Bad Batch as we did with the Mandalorian. What I mean by that is, Hunter in particular is looking like he'll be the main parenting and father figure in this, just like, Din Djarin is in the Mandalorian and how that developed. Of course, this episode hinted at all of the Bad Batch becoming parenting figures for Omega. I do think you get a sense that Wrecker might become kind of that crazy fun uncle that he is to Cutler Quane's 2 kids, something like that. So I am looking forward to seeing that happen, and it could be a lot of fun, but also this could potentially be pretty heartbreaking with developing some of these parenting child relationships. So what this episode really keyed me in on, and it was that scene that Aaron mentioned a few minutes ago. Aaron actually called it Niku. That's actually a character from Resistance, one of our favorite characters, Niku. But it was a Nexu, right?
Nexu.
Yes. Again, everyone knows I'm here to back up and help Aaron. I think sometimes Aaron throws them out there to see if I catch him too. So there we go. So that one was subtle, Niku, Nexu. But in that situation, it really brought up what I wanted to cover in this psychology corner. So it's really, in essence, this whole issue of what works in parenting, what works in the military, and how these two endeavors don't always cross over very well. So let me give you a preemptive strike, a preemptive statement. I have worked with a ton of military men and women, okay, from the Vietnam War, where it was all men, right? I've had Vietnam vets who are in their late 70s, early 80s now. I've worked with them, to the more recent wars where it's men and women, right? I've had female military personnel from both of those different theaters and stuff like that. So I've worked with a ton of them, and I love them. I tell them exactly what I tell every police officer and county sheriff that I've worked with, which is thank you for seeking out the very people I wish to avoid. They do it. Military men and women, police officers, county sheriffs, they just do stuff I don't want to do. And I love them for it. And so I feel very strong about my relationship with them. And that's why what I'm going to say to you, you'll see how it all plays out and how I've really, tried to love and support, military men and women in parenting and the struggles they have. All right, so it all starts with Omega when she's saved from being hurt by a Nexu outside the fence on Cut's farm, right? So here's where it keys in. There's a contrast between Hunter's response and Cut's response, as well as Cut's wife, Sue, right? And it's a very important difference. Why? And as anybody listening to this episode noticed, the responses are different. It shows that what works in the military doesn't work in parenting at home. And so what I've learned, over the years, again, I've worked with military men and women, not just military men, and I've had situations where that mom or dad, again, they're military. That woman is, that man is, but their spouse is not. And what happens is they can become upset with the parent who's the non-military parent. And a lot of times what is conveyed to me is they'll say to me, David, I don't feel like he or she is being strict enough. And when I talk to the non-military parent, they're like, look, from my perspective, the other parent, the one who has the military background or who is currently a military member, is too strict, right? And the way that I've helped to resolve this is, again, first you have to develop rapport so that your clients, whether they're military, non-military, white, black, Hispanic, male or female, they need to know that you care about them, you support them, and they can trust you. So when I've, developed that relationship with those persons, I can help that military parent understand that their spouse, that husband or wife, who's not military, and the children who are not military, they didn't sign on the dotted line to serve. And I do notice that's something that helps them, and that man or woman who's in the military kind of has a light bulb go off, and they say, yeah, these people aren't serving under me. And I'm like, exactly. So, that's when I then go on and talk about how, it is important to follow rules, have attention to detail, following orders, and so on and so forth. But as shown by Cut and his wife, they have a softer, more understanding approach, and that does tend to generally work better. Now, listen, that's not to say that some kids, many kids, I've worked with a ton of them, they do need a firmer approach, and not so much of a soft approach, but a more stricter approach. And it doesn't allow that child wiggle room to manipulate the parents. And as I was typing this up, what this took me back to was stuff I read in undergrad and grad school, and even to this day. And it's the work of a famous psychologist named Diana Baumrind. And Diana Baumrind, her research, she really did a ton on parenting styles. And I thought this would really kind of bring this home. And again, this was really sparked in my mind after that little clip between Hunter and Omega and Cut and Omega. Okay. And so let me explain this. Diana Baumrind's research has shown that there's 4 different parenting styles. Okay, so some of you might recognize these as I read them to you. So what I did is I have it on another piece of paper. It would have made the show notes even way longer, but let me read to you the parenting style and some of the outcomes that we see from each parenting style. Okay, so just bear with me, okay, as you listen. So let's start with authoritative. That parenting style is considered to be warm and responsive. There are clear rules. There are high expectations, not low expectations, but parents are also supportive there. And they value independence, and they convey that to their kids. historically, the outcomes that we've seen for, over 25, 30 years is that these kids who have parents who have that style have higher academic performance, higher self-esteem, better social skills. There's less mental illness. We see less diagnoses in these kids, and we see lower delinquency rates. Okay? Now let's flip over to a second one, authoritarian. That parenting style is described as unresponsive versus warm and responsive, if you remember, for authoritative. The rules are very, very strict. There are high expectations, but they're not reasonable. And they expect blind obedience. And the outcomes we've seen here, and again, I've worked with kids, with parents with every one of these parenting styles, their parents have them. We tend to see lower academic performance, lower self-esteem, poorer social skills. We do see more mental illness, more diagnoses. We do see an increased amount of drug and alcohol abuse, and we see more delinquency. Okay, that's an authoritarian style. Now, let's talk about a third one, permissive. These parents, I've worked with a lot of these parents. They're warm, they're very responsive. But unlike the authoritative approach where there's clear rules, there's few or no rules. These are the situations that maybe Aaron, our listeners, have seen. You've seen it, Aaron, I've seen it, where mom and dad are very warm and responsive, very loving, but they're walked all over by the kids. It's very uncomfortable to see because there's no rules. Mom and dad don't call the kid to task, right? These parents tend to be indulgent, and give everything to the kids, and these parents are very lenient. So some of the outcomes we see here are impulsive behaviors by these kids. These kids tend to be very egocentric. The world revolves around me, and of course, Aaron and I and everybody listening to this know that it does not. There's poorer social skills in these kids, and we see problematic relationships with them, with other peers, and as they grow older, because it's kind of like other people are like, you don't seem to get this. We all need to follow rules. Not everything was handed to us all the time, and it's okay to hear the word no. And so they tend to struggle with relationships. Okay, let's do the fourth one and bring this home. So we've gone over authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and the fourth one is neglectful. Now, unlike, say, authoritative, which is warm and responsive, permissive is warm and responsive, neglectful, the parents are cold and unresponsive. Like the authoritarian, there's no rules. But unlike authoritarian, where there's these high expectations and they are involved in a negative way, neglectful parents are uninvolved. They're indifferent. I've always kind of given the example, and I think Aaron's heard me say this before, where, the parents are like, yeah, go juggle knives in your room. They're just, I don't care what you do. I don't care about your mental well-being, your physical well-being, etc. And again, some of the outcomes we see in kids who have parents who take a neglectful parenting style is impulsive behaviors, delinquency, drug and alcohol abuse, and we do see a bit of an increased suicide rate in these kids. So, the thing that Diana Baumrein talks about, and again, I think about it tied into this episode, is you can put all four of these parenting styles in different corners along two continuums, from undemanding to demanding, and warm and accepting to cold and unaccepting. And of course, what we want are parents that are warm and accepting, but also do demand some stuff with kids. And that's the authoritative parenting style. And that's what we see. Really, the part that we see the most from Cut and Sue LeQuain is them being warm and responsive. And just a side note, and I don't know if people picked up on this, but not only was Hunter very kind of a deer in the headlights when it came to parenting when he was watching Cut and Sue, but the other ones like Echo, Tech, and Wrecker, they really didn't get it. They were all deer in the headlights, and they animated it quite well, and I like how they did that. But again, here's a growth opportunity for all of them to grow into better parents. So there's the psychology corner for this episode. Again, hopefully people can learn a bit from it, but we keep adding to the psychology information and vocabulary of our listeners, right, Aaron?
Exactly right. Excellent job as always, my friend.
There you go.
I love the show. I always learn so much when we do the show. So, So thank you, David. And of course, if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you or even ask you some more questions about some of the things you covered on your Psychology Corner, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. 2 places. First one at Twitter is at David_Modders. That's Modders. I guess my handle's Jedi Psych, right, buddy? Don't we have so it's Jedi Psych, but it's at David_Modders. And then, of course, Aaron mentioned our website. So it's simply David at StarWarsReactions.com.
Very good, very good. And of course, if you want to follow up and talk some Star Wars with me, you don't want to talk Psychology Corner because I'm not the one that would be able to answer those questions. You can hit me up on Twitter at TAHarris121079, or of course, email Aaron at StarWarsReactions.com. David, my friend, this has been fun as always.
Yeah, we knocked another one out, and we'll see what happens here in the next episode and what the Psychology Corner will bring, and hopefully people will continue to enjoy our podcast episodes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We do appreciate each and every one of you and continue to hope and pray for the best for each of you and wish you all the best. Thank you for tuning in. This is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.